The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the week of August 4th promise some shocking revelations and twists. Fans should expect John Finnegan to expose Grace Buckingham. Meanwhile, Rich Forrester leaps into action to save a drowning Brooke Logan. Continue reading and let's discuss what's coming up on the CBS soap drama, John Finnegan's Discovery. Let's start with Finn, who is determined to discover the truth behind Liam Spencer's unexpected miraculous recovery. The Doctor and Bridget Forrester have both attempted to figure it out. Finn even admits that he can't discover the name of the doctor who performed the procedure online. However, Grace is not forthcoming and continues to be cryptic and disdainful. Finn eventually discovers the truth about Liam's false brain cancer. Grace Buckingham's secret revealed. Finn confronts Grace, who is determined to continue the scheme. Grace begs the other doctor to maintain her secret and help cover it up. Finn is just too moral for that, but he insists that Grace tell Liam and Hope Logan the truth. Liam and Hope both sit up in fear as Grace stands there, literally shivering in her skin. Rich Forrester's rescue mission. Over in Italy, Eric Forrester informs Ridge about Nick Marone's proposed scheme. Ridge races to the harbor, but Nick and Brooke are already aboard the speedboat and speeding away. Brooke eventually decides it's a good idea to lay on top of the boat while it zooms across the sea. Of course, this is how Brooke falls into the water. Ridge will be compelled to jump into the water to save Brooke. This event will cause Ridge to make a passionate confession to Brooke. However, what about Taylor Hayes? If Brooke agrees to take Ridge back, how long will this last? Luna Nozawa's recovery. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the week of August 4th hint that Lee Finnegan may attempt to awaken Luna Nozawa from her coma. But what happens after that? Meanwhile, Sheila Carter-Sharp could conduct an investigation into Luna's death. Will Sheila find out the truth about Lee's secret in Luna's death? According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, a preview clip has been published for the week of August 4th, 2025. It depicts John Finnegan busting Grace Buckingham. Lee Finnegan makes an appeal to Luna Nozawa. Rich Forrester pursues Brooke Logan and Nick Marone. Continue reading and let's discuss what's coming up on the CBS soap drama, John Finnegan's Confrontation. Let's start with Finn, who is determined to discover the truth about Liam Spencer's miracle. The doctor eventually confronts Grace about the hidden operation and Liam's health. Finn had already informed her that he couldn't find anything online about the strange colleague who operated on Liam. Finn will then criticize Grace for fabricating Liam's brain tumor. However, when questioned, Grace refuses to apologize or offer to turn herself in. Instead, Grace wants Finn to cover for her, which disgusts him. Grace Buckingham's coerced confession. Liam continues to rehabilitate at Bill Spencer's residence. Finn and Grace stop by to speak with Liam and Hope Logan. It should be noted that Bill is not in the room, thus he will be the last to find out again. Finn invites Grace in and claims she has something to say concerning Liam's brain cancer. However, Grace does not appear to be willing to confess. So I'm wondering if she'll back out at the last minute or claim she doesn't understand what Finn is saying. Lee Finnegan's plea. The bold and the beautiful teasers for the week of August 4th state that the preview footage also features Lee and Luna. The doctor advises Luna to hold on. Even if Lee is able to save Luna's life, how will she earn her redemption? Week of August 4th, 2025. Fans can also expect Eric Forrester to give his kid a warning. The patriarch informs Ridge that Nick has a ring. Ridge attempts to meet up with Nick after learning that he intends to propose to Brooke. Brooke has already taken off in Nick's boat when Ridge arrives at the marina. Brooke lies on top of the speedboat as they accelerate away. So I'm assuming that's how she falls into the sea. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, August 4th indicate some twists and turns. Fans can expect Rich Forrester to pursue Brooke Logan and Nick Marone. Meanwhile, Grace Buckingham gets arrested. Continue reading and let's discuss what's coming up on the CBS soap drama, Brooke Logan's Heart. Brooke informed Ridge how terrible it was for her to be around him, particularly in Italy. The blonde wanted to leave, but Ridge demanded her stay. It's kind of cruel given Ridge's engagement to Taylor Hayes. Brooke eventually had to cope with Eric Forrester when she left with Nick. Brooke is sick of the romantic waffling. The blonde realizes she loves Ridge, but she can't keep pretending everything is fine. Read this. Discover what happened in the latest episode of BNB. Rich Forrester's Race. After Eric notified Ridge about the ring, he attempted to pursue them. Brooke wound up on a speedboat with Nick. At some time, Brooke falls into the water. This causes Ridge to rush in and save her. Ridge is sure to tell Brooke just how he feels. But should she truly take him back? After all, they've done this a gazillion times before. Read this. Jacqueline McInnes would leaves Bold and the Beautiful. How long will Steffi be gone? John Finnegan's discovery. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers for Monday, August 4th, predict that John Finnegan will be unable to overcome Liam Spencer's miracle. Grace isn't particularly forthcoming with information either. Finn ultimately confronts her with the devastating truth. Then she has the audacity to ask Finn to cover for her. Grace does not appear to be the type of lady who would develop false brain tumor treatment schemes. So I'm wondering if she's in some kind of problem. Grace Buckingham's exposure. Finn requests that Grace reveal the truth about Liam's brain cancer to everyone at Bill Spencer's home. Liam immediately sits up, and Hope looks concerned. However, Grace does not appear to be about to confess the truth. I wonder if there will be a last-minute surprise in which Finn covers for her. There might potentially be scenes with Luna Nozawa still unconscious. Lee Finnegan is determined to save Luna's life and turn things around. While I am confident she can save Luna's life, I am not convinced the killer can ever be redeemed, so stay tuned. Which narrative are you most looking forward to witnessing on Monday, August 4th, 2025? Rain pelted the windows as Grace sat alone in the dimly lit library, her fingers shaking over the worn edge of the letter she had just received. The wax seal, which had previously remained unused and forgotten in the bottom drawer of her father's old study, had been shattered, and the words within tore through her like a blade. She'd spent years cultivating a life of quiet precision, concealing the truth beneath layers of artificial steadiness. But she'd discovered secrets had a way of rising, especially when least expected. The letter verified what she feared most. Someone knew. They were aware of the summer of 2016, the Claremont fire, the identities she had buried, and the betrayal that cost her more than she dared acknowledge to herself. The message was unsigned, with exquisite but unfamiliar handwriting and a single statement highlighted twice. I know what you did, and he's not as dead as you think. Her breath caught. Not as dead. The phrase rang in her head. He could not be alive. He was not supposed to be. Rich Carson slammed his car door shut and double-checked his GPS. His source, a retired cop turned private informant, had messaged him locations along with a cryptic note. She's in trouble. Come alone. Rich didn't need to ask who she was. He'd been watching Grace Bennett for nearly 6 weeks, since she vanished from her job, apartment and life. What had started as a favor for an old friend, her brother Matthew, had evolved into something darker and more pressing. Rich disliked unresolved questions, and Grace had left enough behind. A locked phone. Documents were shredded. Surveillance footage showed her entering a facility in Prague using an alias. And now there's a hint pointing to someone who should have died in a warehouse explosion nearly 9 years ago. Ridge's engine rumbled as he accelerated through the rain-slick streets, his tires skidding over curves. Grace hadn't just departed. His gut informed him. She had fled. But from what? Grace rose from her desk, clutching the letter closely. Her thoughts raced. She did not have time to panic. The warning was clear. They were watching. Whoever sent this knew too much. Her disguise as a policy consultant would not hold up under investigation. Worse, if the wrong people found out the truth about Claremont and Elias, everything would crumble. She switched out the lights, double-checked the locks, and took out her emergency bag from behind the fireplace. A flash drive, burner phones, cash, and a small pistol. She hadn't used any of them in years. She had mistakenly hoped that the past would remain buried. The first call she made was to Ridge. He didn't respond. She did not expect him to. She left him behind for a purpose. Ridge had always asked too many questions and pushed too hard. She couldn't afford to let him get involved again. Still, a part of her wished he would arrive. She boarded a train out of the city just before midnight, wearing a hooded coat and spectacles, her hair tucked beneath a scarf. Her destination was an abandoned safe house she hadn't been to in years, hidden on the remote outskirts near the border. It had originally belonged to the resistance group with which she had worked during Claremont, and it was the only place she could think of to regroup. Meanwhile, Ridge arrived at the library about 30 minutes after Grace had left. It was empty but for the night janitor and the lingering aroma of old books and coffee. He looked around the room, noticing the tiniest shimmer of something on the desk. Wax residue. A broken seal. He did not touch it. Instead, he took out a UV flashlight to scan the surroundings. A series of fragmentary prints flashed along the desk's edge. Hers. They were fresh. She was just here, he murmured, tapping the earphone. No signals on her burner, said his tech support Cass. But I caught a glimpse of her on a city traffic camera near the station. Do you want me to reroute surveillance? Too late, Ridge muttered, already on the move. By the time he got to the train yard, the last outbound line was vanished. She was slipping away. The next morning, Grace stood on the valley's edge, peering out at the rusty shell of what had once been a communications post. Trees had regained the most of it. Moss-covered walls bore evidence of previous firefights. She ducked through the half-open door, her heart racing. Dust coated every surface within, but the emergency panel toward the back lit up under her fingers. She activated the security override and watched the cameras turn on. And froze. One of them revealed a black SUV arriving from the North Trail. No plates. No marks. But Grace recognized the vehicle. She had seen it before in Prague. It belonged to Anton Varelli, one of Elias' previous agents. If Anton was here, the letter had not been a ruse. Elias was alive. Ridge spent the following day searching through every record he could uncover. Elias Gray. A name that hadn't appeared in almost a decade. Officially, the man died in the fire, charred remains, no dental records, and an assumed identification supported by circumstantial evidence. But Ridge had always questioned it. Too clean. Too convenient. Now he had proof. He tracked Grace's digital trail, piecing together the ghost path she had walked. She was astute, always one step ahead. He admired it even now. But her trail terminated at the old resistance camp, and when he arrived, it was already teeming with armed mercenaries. He did not hesitate. Ridge dropped low and moved with silent precision, killing 2 guards with silenced shots before sneaking inside. He discovered Grace in the basement corridor, crouching behind a desk, her eyes filled with terror and rage. She aimed her revolver at him as soon as he came into view. Grace. She paused. Ridge. Her voice crackled. What the hell are you doing here? Saving you. I didn't ask for help. Didn't have to. He dropped next to her just as gunshots blasted the glass above them. The chamber was filled with choking dust and high-pitched ricochets. Grace slammed a flashbang at the door, detonated it, and beckoned for Ridge to follow. They ran. Through decaying tunnels, up rusted stairs, and over a broken bridge. The entire site was a tangle of old military trails, but Grace knew every step. When they came to a halt, weary and battered beneath a collapsed tunnel arch, Ridge turned to her. Talk. Now. She gazed at him, her jaw clenched. Do you want the truth? I think we're past that point. She told him. About Elias. About Claremont. About the night the explosion occurred and the agreement she reached to keep her family safe. Elias had faked his death with her assistance. He'd vowed to disappear. Instead, he produced something worse. A shadow network based on silence and blackmail. He swore he'd vanish, she continued, her voice cracking. I gave him my silence and he gave me a way out. And now he wants me back. Or dead. Ridge remained silent for quite some time. He peered into the horizon, putting everything together. You should have told me. I didn't trust anyone. I'm not anyone. She glanced at him, the weight of years creeping into her eyes. No, you are not. They didn't have time to apologize. Anton's soldiers were regrouping. Grace and Ridge relocated again. This time to an ancient extraction site that connected to a fuel station miles downstream. If they could make it there, Cass could help them get out. But Elias had planned for it. A drone spotted them along the riverbank. The gunfire erupted from the ridge above. Ridge shoved Grace behind a metal protrusion, returning fire as she ran for shelter. The scream was thunderous, with water splashing madly as bullets ripped into the bank. Then came quiet. Grace looked up to see Ridge hobbling, blood dripping down his arm. He was not fast enough. She dashed toward him just as another gun rang out from the tree line. She hurled herself over him. The bullet grazed her shoulder. Pain blossomed white-hot, but they kept moving. By the time they arrived at the safehouse's concealed pier, Cass had a hoverboat ready. She dragged them aboard, mumbling curses about trigger-happy war ghosts and stubborn ex-spies. Rich collapsed against the wall, his eyes drifting shut. Grace sat alongside him, gripping her injured arm, her heart pounding. She'd almost lost him again. Rich was stitched up and Grace exhaled for the first time in days after returning to Cass' safe compound. But she knew it was not over. Elias would not stop. Not until she was his or buried. Later that night, Rich sat up and watched her from the edge of the room. "Whatever you're planning next," he added gently, "I'm in." She shakes her head. "I dragged you into this." "No. You backed away before I could stand with you." Grace wasn't sure what to say. He stood and crossed the room. "We put an end to this. Together." For the first time since Claremont, she allowed herself to hope it was possible. Perhaps the truth would not destroy them after all.